when we do operate out of stress and out of discomfort, you're actually subconsciously programming yourself, and that's creating a survival mode for you. I want you guys to think about that. The more that you become comfortable in your surroundings, the more that you become comfortable in your mindset and how you operate in life, especially when it comes to anxiety and stress, you're creating what's called a survival mode. Hey, what's going on, fellows? Welcome back to the More Than Average Men podcast. I am your host, Michael Benton, and you are listening or watching to episode 2. Welcome back. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for tapping in with me. If you're new to the podcast, again, welcome. Please go check out the trailer or even the first episode if you haven't done so. And if you've already been tapping in with me, even from my YouTube days, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for, kind of just riding along with the journey with me. You know what I mean? So I'm super appreciative. I've always been looking forward to doing a podcast. I just love the format. I love, kind of like how the dialogue is. It's just super dope. And so I'm very excited to be finally tapping in and sharing my information, my journey with you guys, and obviously vice versa, right? I want to hear from you guys. So if there's things that are going on in your life, or if you have questions or comments or things that are working for you, I'm a sponge, you know what I mean? So I'm always looking to just obtain knowledge, and obviously most importantly, utilize that knowledge, put it into use. But don't be afraid to comment or tap in with me and let me know how things are going in your life. So this episode is about peace. And I came up with the concept or the idea to talk about this because I've noticed that there's I won't say a trend, but typically, for me anyway, on the weekends is when I feel I'm in the most peace. And I'll explain. So usually obviously on the weekends, I don't have to work, right? My job right now, I just work Monday through Friday. And so on the weekends, it's all about me and it's about me time. And what I find most peaceful for me is being able to wake up, put on a cup of coffee, make breakfast, work out. Like, for me, that is it brings me so much joy. It brings me so much peace because I get to be like within my element. You know what I mean? Like everything just seems very euphoric, and I'm just like very I don't know, blissful and content with where I'm at life, and I'm excited about where life is going. And I was thinking to myself, like, man, what if you could be in that moment all the time, or at least a good chunk of the time that you're awake, right, and not sleeping. I was like, man, what would that feel like? Like the decisions that you make, the choices, and just how you react to certain things, if you can just live in that peace all the time. And I've been on my personal development journey for, man, I don't know, since like 2015, 2014, somewhere around there. And so I would say that I've gotten pretty good at understanding what brings me peace and then how to tap into that when I'm faced with, situations in which, things are out of my control, or there's strong emotions or feelings involved. And I don't want to, kind of live in that space, right? In that mindset. I want to be able to control my decisions, my thoughts. And so I'm able to bring myself to a place of peace for the most part. And so I definitely wanted to share kind of how I do that for myself. And then obviously just kind of give you guys some game as to like, man, like you don't have to live in chaos and stress all the time. Here's what I find out, right? As men, we live in stress. We live in chaos all the time, right? A lot of us are dealing with anxiety just because of all of the hats that we have to wear, right? Like stress at work, and then stress at home, and then it's just anxiety over this and that and not getting this done. And we're obviously, putting our own selves down a lot of the time, telling ourselves that we're not good enough. Right? It's the opposite of peace, right? So I'm going to read you the definition of what they say peace is, right? So peace is attaining happiness, contentment, and bliss, no matter how difficult things get in your life. And I think that's very important to know because a lot of the times when you ask someone, hey, when are you at peace, or when do you find peace? And typically the answer that most men will give you is when they're on vacation, or when their family is gone and they're by themselves, or for some it's, when they're doing their favorite hobbies, whether it's golfing or tinkering around in the garage or whatever the case may be. It's those moments in which you find bliss. But I'm like, man, if we could take that feeling, right, or those thoughts that we have in those moments, and be able to tap into that when we aren't in those particular moments or situations, how much better would we be? And so that's why I wanted to talk to you guys about today. So I wanted to ask you guys a question. When was the last time that you felt peace? Like, when was really the last time that you were at peace? And like for me, like I said, I tap into it a lot because, I kind of, when you're doing self-development and you're working on yourself and you're creating change and you're making new habits for yourself, obviously it's like school, right? Like the more you practice something, the better you become at it. And so over time, as you're developing yourself, you take on these skills, right? You increase these skills in which you're able to think better thoughts, right? You're able to have more frequent, peaceful, nice thoughts than you do with the negative and the self-doubt and all that stuff. And so, like I said, the more that you work in this realm of developing yourself, the more you're going to be able to tap into peace whenever you like to, right? And for me, I'm able to do that. Now, obviously, I'm not perfect. There are certain situations in which, the emotions take over, and it takes me a little bit to kind of bring myself, back to reality, and kind of back to a state in which, okay, these are the negative thoughts, and I don't want to make those decisions. But again, it definitely took time. And so what I think it's important to bring up is that when you are operating from a place of anxiety and stress and discomfort, like, that shit is exhausting. Like, I don't know if, I'm sure you guys have felt the same thing where, like, man, it's just mentally exhausting when you go to work and you're dealing with, your boss, and you have, stress on the job, and you're just overwhelmed and understaffed and whatever the case may be. And then, you come home and it's you possibly have stress and anxiety about, things in the communication with your wife or your spouse, or, kid stuff. And it's just one thing after another. Like, that shit is exhausting. You know what I mean? Like, you literally just want to, at the end of the day, you want to just like lay down in your work clothes and go to bed. Like, sometimes, like, that's just how it is. You know what I mean? And so I think that us as men, especially, again, we wear so many hats, and not to mention, we as men, we have this persona that we have to not necessarily live up to. Well, I guess you could say live up to, because, there's an expectation, right? As a man, there's an expectation as to how you're supposed to function in society, right? Men don't cry, don't show emotion, be strong, push through, all of these things, yada, 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 which is so far from the truth. But you have this criteria that is imposed in a man's DNA. And so, I think that if we can get beyond that, imagine how much more smoother, our thought process could be. Imagine how much smoother, our relationships could be, and our lives in general. I don't know about you, but I just think that's an amazing thing to strive for. That's an amazing thing to strive for. And so if you are in a position in where you're trying to develop yourself, strive for that. Strive for peace, right, within yourself. And again, peace doesn't have to look like where you have to be on vacation to get it, right? Or you have to be alone, right? Or the kids have to be gone, or whatever the case may be. Like, you can have peace every day, right? Even if you find 10, 15 minutes out of the day, whatever the case may be, you can create peace. And that's just going to bring you a lot farther down in life. And another thing that I wanted to point out too is that, and I'm taking a look at my notes because I got some good stuff down here, is that when we do operate out of stress and out of discomfort, you're actually subconsciously programming yourself, and that's creating a survival mode for you. I want you guys to think about that. The more that you become comfortable in your surroundings, the more that you become comfortable in your mindset and how you operate in life, especially when it comes to anxiety and stress, you're creating what's called a survival mode, right? And so it's interesting to see, like, if you ever ask someone, or maybe even yourself too, where let's say where you do happen to be alone, right? Or you find time to yourself, or whatever the case may be. Do you ever find yourself being like fidgety and like not knowing what to do with yourself, and like you're just like, man, I got to do something. Like my body's like, I got to do something, right? Like something's got to go on. I got to make some noise. I got to get up. I got to go do something. That's your body operating at its normality, right? Like your body's like, whoa, where's the stress? Why are we not thinking 1,000 thoughts? Why is my blood pressure not elevated? Why is my heartbeat not going up? Like what is going on? Like we need to be getting back to our normal function. And that, my friend, is not a place or a state in which you want to be operating for long periods of time. Because obviously, I'm not a doctor, but I'm sure you can do a lot of research out there that stipulates and shows that obviously, living in stressful and anxiety situations increases, potential heart attacks and so on and so forth. So, obviously there's going to be some health complications if you live in it too long. And so again, you got to remind yourself that you're creating this survival mode for yourself. And we have to break that, men. Like, fellas, we have to break that mentality, because it doesn't have to be that way. Who said that it had to be that way? It doesn't. And that's one of the things that I wanted to change for myself. There was a lot of things that I wanted to change for myself as far as just, being a man and operating from that standpoint. But just, I didn't, the things that society has normalized for us as men is bullshit. Right? It doesn't have to be. And so you have a choice. And so obviously you guys are tuning in for a reason. I'm sure you guys are listening and watching other things and gaining knowledge that way to better yourselves. And so take heed to what it is that you're obtaining and actually put it into use and use it, because, you can create whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. It's just all about a choice, right? It's all about the decision that you make. My point number 2, peace can be used to get what you want in life. Peace can be used to get what you want in life. How so? Well, let's see. What happens when you operate from peace? As I mentioned before, you make better decisions, right? So you have better cognitive brain function, right? When you are operating from peace. Obviously you're not as stressed. There's not really any anxiety going on. You're more deliberate in your options and your actions, right? So when you are able to create or take action from peace, the choices that you make, the actions that you take, are only going to propel you to the level that you want to get to, right? Do you think that if you were making a decision or taking action from a place of stress and anxiety and fear, that you would make the same decisions had you been operating from a place of contentment and bliss and happiness? Probably not, right? Probably not. A good example of that is if some of you guys, I'm in sales, and so I've been in sales for quite a long time. And I've noticed that when I'm operating from a place of like anxiety and stress and fear, because I work on commission, if I'm operating from that type of place and I have a buyer on the phone, the old untrained me, I am trying to sell them whatever, right? Like, even if the product doesn't make sense for them, I'm going to talk them into selling a product. I'm going to talk them into buying my product. Because I'm operating out of stress. I got to make money, bro. I got bills to pay. I got to put food on the table. Things got to get taken care of. You know what I mean? And so when I'm operating from that position, the customer can feel it and I know it. You know what I mean? Because it's just forceful. It's pushful. I'm not coming from the right mindset. I'm not doing a great service. Whereas if I'm operating from peace, knowing that the product is great, knowing that I'm good at what I do, knowing that the customer really needs it, you just get the sale, right? So this is just a good example, right? This is a good example. But you guys know what I mean. So again, if you are operating on a piece, you can definitely make your life a lot better. It can definitely lead you to the life that you want to have and the person that you want to become. I think it's important to understand too that if you can generate contentment and you can generate happiness in the face of adversity, right? You're winning, bro. Like, you're doing a really good job. Because there are going to be times, right, where there's things that are going to be in your control and there's going to be things that are going to be outside your control. And obviously the things that are outside your control, you don't have no control over. You know what I mean? And so it's up to you on how you react to that situation or circumstance. And again, going back to my main point, if you are operating out of a position of stress and fear and anxiety and discomfort, you're probably going to make poor choices. And at the end of that choice is probably not going to be the result that you initially wanted, right? Whereas if you were able to discern, okay, I'm in a situation in which I cannot control, but what I can control is how I react to it, is how I think about it. Okay, so knowing that, this is what I'm going to do. This is going to be the right choice. And when you can do that and be able to create that type of thought process repetitively, right? And every situation that you run into, for the most part, right? Every situation that you run into, you're able to discern, okay, I can't control that, but I can control this. I can control the way I think. For me, just to even saying that, it's like just so much more peaceful, because as men, we run into so many situations in which things are out of our control and we're trying to control them. Stop trying to control everything. We can't control everything, right? But what we do have control over is how we think and how we act and decisions that we make. And you can only go up from there if you're making the right decisions from the right state of mind. Otherwise, you find yourself in jail. You find yourself in bad situations, right? Where you're regretting it afterwards. And you're like, damn, like, why did I do that? Why did I say that to her? Or, whatever the case may be. Why did I blow up? And again, I mean, we're all human. It happens. And I still do it, to this day. But again, like I said before, the more that you work on yourself and you create change in your habits and just your mindset, that's just one less reaction to something that you can't control, right? That's just one less bad circumstance that you have when you're able to operate from that type of space, right? So I'm sure a lot of you guys are asking me, okay, that sounds great, but how do you find peace? Great question. I would tell you to start with what you like. Easy enough, right? What do you like? I mean, that's probably another topic too, because like how many of you guys out there actually don't know what you like? It took me a while. So I don't know if you guys know this. I think I talked about this a little bit in the trailer, but I've been divorced, I think, for like 2 years, right? So I was married for like 11 years. And in those 11 years, like, for me anyway, right? And I'm not blaming my ex-wife or the situation, but just for me, like, my experience with them being married in 11 years is that I lost who I was. Like, I lost myself, right? And so when I got separated and got divorced or whatever, it took me a little bit to figure out, like, okay, like, what do I like? What am I into? I had to like start all over again. It was like being a toddler all over again. I was like, I don't know what I like. You know what I mean? I had to figure that all out again. And I noticed that once I started picking things up, like, I really love to hike. I really love to be tested physically. You know what I mean? So like, I would love to run one of those like Spartan races or like those Tough Mudders. I think I would love to do that because I just loved being tested physically. That's what I like. Hiking brings me peace, right? I'm out in wilderness, so to speak, hiking up a mountain by myself. And obviously there's adversity because it's, steep climbs or whatever the case may be. It's hot here. I'm in here in Arizona, so it gets stupid hot. But I would say for you guys, like, figure out what it is that you like. What do you enjoy? What truly brings you comfort, right? And I'm not talking about something that you force yourself to do. Like, what is something that you do? Like, you decide that you want to go do that. Like, oh, I'm going to go fishing. Like, I would love to go bass fishing. I've never been bass fishing. I think that'd be pretty dope. I want to do that. So I would say first is look at what you like. Start there. And then figure out ways to do that more often, right? So like if it's tinkering in the garage on your car, or if it's like woodwork, welding, whatever, fishing, whatever the case may be, figure out ways in which to do more of that, right? Whether it's just on the weekends, or maybe you get a couple of days out of the week, and I would say if you're able to do more of that, that's going to be able to bring you more peace, right? Now, here's what I want you guys to understand. It's not so much about the action as it is about the mindset of the action. Here's what I mean. So if you're like, hey, I am a huge fisher, right? And I love to fish, and it just brings me so much peace and much joy. But I don't get a lot of time based on my schedule and my work-life balance to actually go fishing. I want you to think about what your thoughts are, what your mindset is when you are fishing. So when you're sitting there on the bank, or you're actually in your boat, or you're on the dock, or wherever you are when you're fishing, what are you thinking? How are you feeling? Like, what's going through your head? Is anything going through your head? Are you not thinking about absolutely anything except for the fish and the way you move the rod and the bait, your tackle you're using? Like, what are you thinking? Because if you can emulate or begin to emulate the thoughts or the mindset or the feeling that action of fishing brings you, you're then able to use that particular mindset in your work when you're not fishing, right? Or when you're at home and you're not fishing, right? So try that. Try and emulate, or at least think of, okay, what do I think when I'm fishing? What am I doing? Why does fishing bring me peace? Ask yourself that. Why does fishing bring me peace? What is it about? Is it just about being in nature by myself? Is it about being by myself? Is it about just me and the fish? Like, what is it? And I would tell you to try and emulate that mindset, that thought process. Okay. Try new things. I was a big proponent of trying new things when I got divorced. There were so many things that I didn't do when I was married. Even prior to me being married, I didn't explore as much. And so now that I'm a little bit older, you grow a little bit, right? And so there's things that I wanted to try. And so like for me, I had never tried sushi before. I'm 37 years old, and I tried sushi for the first time, I think when I was 30. Was it last year? It might have been last year or the year before. Bro, sushi is fire. I don't know what I was missing. Like, I don't know what I was thinking when I didn't want to try sushi. I think it was just, I don't know. I was stubborn in my ways. My ex tried to get me to eat stuff like that, and I was just like, nah, that ain't for me. Didn't even try it. I'm just notorious for like, nah, I don't like it, and I've never tried it. I tried sushi for the first time, and this is the crazy part because I went to a sushi bar by myself, and I was like, yo, bro, I've never had sushi, so like, what do you suggest? Bro, he gave me the rawest of the rawest. It wasn't swordfish. I don't know what the dude gave me, but it was raw, and it was fire. Straight up fire. So like, try new things, right? So what else did I do? Kayaking, road trips on myself. I just got back from San Diego a couple weeks ago. I think it was last month. I got back from San Diego, took a little like 5-day trip out there. So just explore with yourself. Try and figure out what it is that brings you peace, what it is that you like. And then you just kind of build off of that, right? So simply put, just try new things, right? Explore, and see what comes up for you. When are you the happiest? When are you the happiest? When do you find that you're at your happiest state? Is it Friday when you're done with work? Is it when your son comes home, your kids come home? Is it when your wife comes home? What is it? When are you at your happiest? Find that out. Do more of that. All right. So I want to leave you guys with this. I want to summarize it by saying this, that even though we as men typically operate out of stress, out of fear, discomfort, anxiety, you don't have to. You don't have to. We don't have to. No matter what society has, kind of forced upon us or created or symbolized for a man, we don't have to live in those states, right? States meaning anxiety, discomfort, things like stress. So make a choice, bro. Make a choice to choose peace, to try and implement more peace in your life. All right, and so I want to leave you guys with this, right? So I want to summarize by saying that even as men, right, we typically, again, function through the space of stress and anxiety and discomfort. My point is that you don't have to. You don't have to, bro. Right? No matter what society has kind of put out there or required of us as men, and we're supposed to do this and be this way and behave this way, you don't have to, because we're slowly killing ourselves when we're living in a space that creates so much discomfort, right? And I just know from experience that the more that I do this self-improvement, this personal development, the more peace I create for myself. I also want to mention too that I create a lot of peace, at least for me anyway, is when I'm going after things that I want, when I'm going after my dreams, when I'm making things happen, right? I create a lot of peace because I'm not sitting and stewing over where I'm not at and what I don't have. I'm more so focused on where am I headed? What am I doing to get there? What are the steps am I taking? And so by me taking action towards the things that I want, I'm actually creating peace for myself because I'm moving towards it. I'm doing something about it. Now, whether I get there or not, that's to be seen. I believe I will. I know I will. But, I think that it's important that you move towards your goals. And, you start to do things that stretch you, right? And just create a little bit of better version of yourself each day. So that's what I wanted to leave you guys with. But like I said, man, don't take my word for it. Hopefully you guys took something out of that. And most importantly, just implement it. Try it, bro. Like I said, don't just listen. Put it into fruition. Take action on it. Whatever it is that you're learning. So the goal, right? The goal is to be able to try, right, for 5 minutes a day, whatever the case may be for you, try and create a moment of peace. That might look like silence. That might look like meditation. That might look like journaling if you're into that, which is dope, by the way. That might be listening to your favorite songs. Whatever the case may be, find some time to find peace in your day, because we as men too often, live in these negative states that don't do anyone any good, especially us. And, we have to take care of ourselves. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please, wherever you're listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, please subscribe, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Music or whatever the case may be. Please hit that subscribe button. I look forward to the next episode with you guys, tapping in. If you have any comments, please leave them. I love to talk with you guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace out, fellas.